Intel just had a 30% plus day today. Many investors are asking themselves, why is this stock now skyrocketing to the upside? And could be more to that. Stay tuned, we're just going to continue right after the intro. Hello and welcome to yet another video from Bloomberg Capital. My name is Patrick and today we're going to answer the question why Intel has surged over 30%. Now the headline news you will see is that Nvidia is now willing to purchase shares from Intel with a $5 billion investment, and that's why they are committed to buying those stocks, and that's why the market is repricing that with a 30% gap to the upside. So in this video, we want to simply highlight the fact, and that's why there is not going to be lots of stock footage and everything in there, because I think it's a very timely video. So we're trying to give you the information as quickly and as precise as possible. So what has happened is that around this point, Nvidia announced that they will get a investment into Intel and will be committing themselves into buying shares of Intel at approximately the price of $23 and a couple of cents. So it doesn't really matter where in here it was, but what matters is what we see here. Okay, so this is a complete reversal of this big down leg that we had over here, and we could even speculate that Intel now has formed a very big low in the market. Now that comes from someone who actually doesn't like Intel at all. I think AMD is better, but that's just me. That's why I also didn't partake in this 30% move, because the structure was there, but I was simply not, from my own bias, convinced that Intel would really get a grip. However, they did with that Nvidia investment at the moment. However, this is just the headline news. There is also a couple of other things going on, because Intel did have problems, and I mean, you can see it here on the chart that they had problems for a very long time. So this is the intermediate term low at the very least. So if we make it even above $51, I would say this is the macro low. So preliminarily, let's assume that this is the low. We're going to see a consolidation over here, and then we can actually embark into an uptrend that should actually potentially lead us to new all-time highs. So, but why, you might ask? Well, they had problems, as I mentioned, and because they had problems, they went into restructuring. So they basically did restructure the entire company, including manufacturing, including layoffs, including trying to hit big with their profitability. And this is what we are currently seeing. So far, Intel had lots of problems, but the effect of restructuring and everything else, you tend to see afterwards, okay? That's the first part. Additionally, the Trump administration also partook ownership into Intel. I think they own now 10% of the stock, which means that, of course, they're going to get subsidies. They're going to get a license. And whatever it is, what the government gifts you as a company, it usually boosts your advantage over competitors. Now, I'm looking at AMD at the moment. So if the Intel guys, are getting subsidies in the future, that should really give them an edge over AMD. And therefore, the stock price could go even higher. Therefore, we do think that this is a short-term low, and what will happen now is, of course, the next 2 days. What I would like to see is not a whole lot of retracement in this bar, okay? Just imagine that we just consolidate here. We can also go to the midpoint of the gap, but then I would just like to see more consolidation. So a tight range is the perfect scenario that I would like to see to get involved. Many people would say don't chase it. This is an entirety, whole new move. I would say chase it, but in a consolidation, because if we get a consolidation, this is exactly what I want to see for a low risk entry. Would I have bought here? Probably not, right? But now you see all those fundamentals shifting into Intel's favor, and therefore it makes sense to get in here or here. Okay, and this is what we will be monitoring in our Discord. By the way, if you haven't heard, our Discord is completely free at the moment in the community section. There you can ask your questions about stocks you may like. We also do a couple of analysis there, and you might like even our premium offering where we analyze over 180 different stocks. Now, Intel would be one of them, and I did say actually that this was a very bullish structure that we're currently building. However, I simply was biased. Okay, I did a mistake. I didn't really believe in Intel simply because I'm an AMD fanboy, especially because they make the better chips at the moment. So that came at a huge opportunity cost. Okay, but I did identify this as a bullish structure, and now I'm even more convinced and willing to invest into this if we get the structure here. Okay, so that's been the video for today. If you did like it, please share, like, and subscribe. And I see you in the Discord, or until next time, here at Bloomberg Capital.